we're back. On time this time. We are Wallacast, a podcast where we talk about English dubbed anime and the actors who work on them. Woohoo! I'm Lauren Salter.
I'm Matt Walker.
And we're trying something new, okay?
Yeah, going off script a bit, alright? So, for any of you following Sentai's announcements, we are doing No Game, No Life, and...
No Game, No Life 0!
Yes, in honor of Sentai's recent home video / high dive release of this really awesome movie.
And now that it is officially September 3rd as we are recording, NGNL 0 is out on Sentai, so you can watch it.
Yes, go to High Dive and check it out if you want. It was updated 2 days ago.
Yeah, which I did not know, so I had to wait.
But we had the disc, so at least I did. Did you get it? I forgot.
I did get it.
You did get it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I had just left it at home when we went to con.
Well, that makes sense.
Whoops.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Speaking of, we went to con. It was great. We went to SAC Anime.
Yeah. That's a new con for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
High praise from a lot of folks that we've heard about. It was a good con. Great guest list for a con of its size, especially. It was
really great.
It felt like a super tiny con.
Mm-hmm.
Content-wise, not amazing.
Yeah, I think our biggest disgruntlement is the fact that most of the panels were Q&As, but kind of audience-driven.
Yeah, like literally nothing but Q&A the whole time. Not just like, oh, we have a panel in the last 15 minutes or last 10 minutes or Q&A. Which I think is fine, yeah. Just every single, at least voice actor-led panel was just Q&A and nothing else.
Yeah. And
not my favorite.
Really, apart from Brittany's, really, I did not end up enjoying them.
I will say the ladies of My Hero Academia, or whatever the official title of that one was, that was pretty good.
I'm kicking myself.
Yeah, surprisingly good questions, especially for the first half / 2/3 or so. It got kind of meh toward the end.
Yeah.
But no, some good discussion. That was probably the best panel I attended, I think.
Of course.
Even though the show isn't necessarily my favorite, but good, I basically went for the guests, and it was worth it.
And I forgoed? I did not go to that one. Forgot that one. Because I don't like My Hero Academia, and at the time, I think I was just super tired, so I didn't think that it would... I didn't think I would enjoy it, and then Matt kept texting me, like, this is great, this is the best one yet! I was like, fine! Of course it is!
It's the one you didn't go to.
Yeah.
Murphy's Law always applies. But yeah, it was a good con overall. They were really well organized, and I liked that and I guess maybe this is because they do all these Q&As, is they had some ground rules for them, which I really like, that I wish other cons would actually implement. That would be good. They were actually screening questions as well before they got asked. Obviously, someone could probably have just lied and totally told the screener a different question they intended to ask. But
they were pretty on it as far as like getting on people who were approaching the tables, or
Yeah, we had one guy that one of their rules is like no gifts, no giving them anything, and we had a guy that like he was actually just showing them something, but it looked like they were about to give him something, and there's like the one guy runs up, is like no, buddy, get out of here with that. I mean, you had your usual, as I say, there's always one super awkward person, maybe a little bit, creepy
from our perspective, and of course, all of the actors were so gracious for.
Oh yeah, I don't know how they do that because I could never handle that situation, and come off being generous and nice.
It was good. We got to meet a couple actors who we hadn't met before, and I didn't think I could meet because they're based in Texas. Brittany Karbowski and Monica Royale for 2. There were a good number of Texas-based actors, so that was really cool.
It was almost all Texas people, in fact.
Yeah.
There were very few, at least anime-wise, LA-based people. Which was nice for us, because we're used to the West Coast crowd, because we're in the West Coast, and that's the cons they tend to be at. So yeah, we finally got to meet some Funimation / Sentai actors. So, NGNL. Anyone who does not know already, this was a super popular show a few years back. It's one of the, usually at the top of most lists of deserves a second season, but has not gotten one yet.
Yep.
It is based on a light novel. It is an Isekai type of show, which is where, someone from like our normal world gets sucked into some sort of fantasy land. Though this one, a little more original, we'll kind of get into that. It's about a brother and sister, technically non-related brother and sister, stepbrother and sister, who are expert gamers. They're the best in the world, basically, and they are pulled into the world of Disboard, which is a fantasy land where all disputes are settled by games, and sort of violence and any sort of harm to other people outside of games is not permitted. Mm-hmm. So, very interesting concept. It's a fun show. It's a funny show. There's quite a bit of action to it as well. Super colorfully done by Madhouse. Mm-hmm. If you know them, they have a great reputation for being very, very good in the biz, and they are definitely good here. So I definitely recommend checking it out on High Dive if you haven't before, because we're definitely going to be getting into spoilers as well. This does include the movie, the prequel movie, so beware of that, because I'm sure a few less people have seen that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not really going to be splitting this episode up, so it will all be interwoven. So if you haven't seen the movie, you probably should before you listen to this episode. This was an early one for me. This was a rewatch for me. This is one of the shows that I've rewatched the most. I think probably this one and Fate Zero and Railgun are the three that I've watched the most. Just because this one is so easy to put on. You just put it on in the background and it's funny and it's colorful and it's I just can put it on and not worry about it. Mm-hmm. So, but when I first watched it, this was very early, so the ecchi part of it took me kind of by surprise. Although you warned me, to be fair. It just was, talk about panty shots.
I still think this is one of the better ecchi shows that exist. Mm-hmm. Just because it's not all about that.
Yeah, and it's not the folk, I don't know.
And it does it in a goofier way than I feel like normal.
And they comment on it too.
Yeah, and a surprising amount of stuff actually does make at least somewhat sense to the plot. Not all of it, but...
Yeah. So, that part took me. But overall, again, this is a very enjoyable show for me. It's probably one of my top 10.
I would say it's definitely up there for me as far as, more comedic shows. Mm-hmm. It's definitely one of the best, like I said, best ecchi ever, I think. And as far as... And this is kind of a subject I kind of want to just touch on. I would say it's one of the best isekai shows.
Ah, yes, let's go into that.
I want to go crazy into this world, because actually I've mentioned this to you, but I kind of want to do maybe a collaborative thing about this genre, because I tend to think about it a lot, not always in positive ways.
Yeah, totally. Well, give us your bullet points then.
But basically, this is a genre that's become very, very ubiquitous in almost every season. There's at least one or two, sometimes more, and there are definitely really famous examples, like Re:Zero got a ton of hype. No Game, No Life itself does. You've got the sort of Trapped in a Game, which I feel like is kind of a subgenre, where you've got Log Horizon and SAO and things like that, that are a little bit slightly different, especially SAO, because it's a virtual world, so they technically still exist in our world, but anyway. And a lot of times it's I don't know, for me it's starting to feel formulaic in many ways, and they also tend to be more and more toward the just generic harem stuff as well. It's you've got a guy who's a loser in his normal life, gets sucked into a fantasy world, and for some reason now becomes...
he's a god.
Yeah, super OP, and all the girls love him for no apparent reason. Yeah. And it's okay, and then go press forward with generic story, have fun with that. Okay. But this one, I think, actually does a lot of more interesting things. For one thing, it kind of eschews the harem. You could argue Sora kinda has one, but not really when you get down to it. Because, obviously, Shiro's a special case, because she's sister / I don't know, it's a weird relationship. Yeah. But I think in real life, she loves him as a sister. I think she jokes around with the idea of oh, I actually love you, and how you can't have any girls before me.
Yeah, I honestly think she does it just to annoy Steph.
I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
And then you've got Jabril, who doesn't really have any romantic interest in either of them, but she sees them both as these incredible entities that she's now dedicated her life to. Mm-hmm. Really, the only one is Steph.
Yeah.
Who is originally commanded to fall in love with Sora.
Right.
Oh, I guess I should say, there might be some spoilers for the light novels, because I've actually read those, so I may weave a little bit in that. For instance, Steph does have sort of a conflict of sort of her a little internal conflict later on, because she realizes that the spell of the pledges or that game probably should have worn off by now, but she has some lingering feelings for Sora there, so... But after that, that's about it. Like, Kurumi's there, but she's not interested in him whatsoever. Like, yes, he's surrounded by girls, but they're not all fawning over him, basically.
Right.
I think that's one thing that makes this better than a lot of the other ones. The other thing is, this is not your generic fantasy world. Right. There is one big, major difference that everything is run by games, which is a totally unique concept that, as far as I know, is not really a thing in any other show, and that's a lot of what draws me to it, at least. Not to mention all the great artwork and yada yada yada. It's just better executed than I think a lot of other ones as well, but...
And it's short.
Yeah.
Which I think helps.
I guess the point of all this is, if we want to keep doing this genre, I feel like they need to come up with interesting takes on it, or maybe can we scale it back a little bit? Like, it really does feel like I see the same basic show like 2 or 3 times a season now. And
can we flip the gender? Like, let's make the girl be the
you
one
could totally do a
reverse harem.
Yeah, a reverse harem. Or again, I would just like to get rid of the harem thing in general.
Well, yes, there's that too.
Because I feel like...
Talk about a buzzkill.
That's just tired on every level. Like, it doesn't lend itself to anything really interesting. Unless you're playing out a fantasy, which I guess is what it's really aimed at, but I don't know. How many times you gotta play out that fantasy?
Well, for me, one of the big selling points of this is that there are so many women in this show who do things. It's not, like Sora isn't really the lead, he's the co-lead. He's every time that you think that Sora is taking control, there's usually an inevitable moment where he starts to lose it, and Shiro takes over. And vice versa, and that's the whole thing I like about this is they're a team.
Yeah, like he literally can't function without her.
Yeah.
Like they get separated by a handful of yards and they both freak out.
That's a great moment in that episode, too. Like, it breaks from a pretty serious moment from Steph, and then they go into their panic mode, and she's like, are you guys serious?
Yeah.
Like, you're right there. You can see us.
And it's such a contrast between what she's seen with both these very confident people, and now all of a sudden they're just terrible and pathetic.
And I like that the women do important things, not just are there. Jabril kind of pops out at me. This is one of the notes I had was, I watched the movie first and then the show this time around. So I got the Jabril from NGNL 0 before I got this one. And let me tell you, it's frightening. Because she is so goddamn powerful in the movie, and just ridiculously destroys Shubi.
So there's a thing with what the books explain this, and the anime doesn't, but there is a divide between where Flugel starts. They talk about like the ranks in the Ixids, which are your sort of affinity to magic. And from Elf, which is 6 and down, they are physical beings. Like, they have flesh and blood. But what they don't explain is Flugel on up are not. They are actually pure magic beings.
Awesome.
And that is why the Flugel, which I think are just rank 5, are so much more powerful than everyone below them. And yeah, they are literally living weapons. Their god, Artosh, created them just to be weapons.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's scary. And I do love, because I actually watched it the same way I did originally, which was series first, movie second. But I remembered plenty from the movie. And I love how you get moments in the series of Jabril's old self as a living weapon. And her face changes and she gets super serious. And it is still scary.
Yeah.
Even though in matter of fact, she can't harm anybody. But it's still like, holy crap, this girl is really going to try to murder everybody.
Yeah.
That is... Like, that's still her existence, and that's still what she remembers, even if the pledges force her not to do all those things.
It definitely, for me, the first time I watched it, Jabril was, for me, just cocky. But she still had the power where I knew that she had that capability. And this time around, it wasn't cockiness. It was... it was cockiness, I guess.
See, to me,
but it was very well founded.
Yeah, to me, it's just confidence. Like, she has every reason to be that cocky.
Yes, exactly.
Like, yes, she does get defeated by Sora and Shiro, but that's definitely the exception to the rule, not...
Yeah.
Like, in general, she's gonna win most battles like that, intellectual or otherwise.
And if you want to see a really great animated scene, go watch the movie.
Yeah, the fight scene between Shuvi and Jabril is ridiculous. It looks so cool.
Yeah.
It's up there with, like, probably my favorite battle scenes.
Mm-hmm. I think so, too.
And that's another one for, like, if you have a good sound system or really nice headphones, utilize those.
Yes.
Especially in the movie, because the sound design is really awesome. It adds a lot.
We saw it in theaters, and it almost literally blew us away.
Yeah.
Just, like, so much bass.
Take advantage of that. It's awesome.
I know that you mentioned you read the light novels, and I didn't. I liked Steph anyway. But I know you kept saying that, Steph has a lot more to do in this.
It is true. So, especially in the series, of course, Steph doesn't show up in the movie.
Right.
I mean,
her ancestor.
You got Corone, yeah. But Steph is kind of the butt of all the jokes in the series. And with the exception of maybe one or two times, she doesn't really get to do much. She's sort of seen as kind of incompetent.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because she gets her butt kicked by Sora and Shiro all the time by sort of presuming how games work, and
she's the comedic relief in this one.
Yeah, she definitely is. But later, again, spoiler for the light novels, you find out that she's actually been learning from Sora and Shiro slowly, and she actually has gotten a lot more skilled in games and things like that. She has a few moments where she gets to kind of show her stuff. And that's kind of fun. That I'm glad they decided to push her character farther than just the
butt of the joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because she has such capability to be more, I guess, potential to be more. And in a 12-episode series, it's hard to do that, I guess.
Yeah.
With so much focus being on, this, we have to get through this one plot line. Yeah, and there are a lot of characters to deal with.
Yeah, and if I remember right, the series covers, it's either the first 3 or first 4 novels. And the movie is the 6th novel, which is her 6th volume, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But yeah, she does indeed get more to do, and that is really nice. Speaking of Steph / Corone, I really like, and I wish I heard more from Sarah Ornelas, who is the voice of Steph. I thought she did a really good job. I like that she has her sort of Steph voice, which is more cheerful, but then she can completely switch into this very low-pitched, like,
Yeah.
And it really adds some really good timing, and I think that helps a lot of the moments.
Yeah, her comedic timing is on point. This is such a great role. I love Steph. Yeah, she really does nail that timing.
And I like that, and this is true for pretty much all of the main cast, Scott Gibbs, Caitlin French, and Sarah, for their sort of twin roles in the movie. At least, especially Scott and Sarah, I feel like this isn't just Sora again, and it's not Steph again. These are different people. Yeah. I will say Caitlin sounds more similar from Shuvi and Shiro, and that might be okay because, of course, Shiro is sort of robotic because she's, the kudere type. She's kind of emotionless. And then Shuvi literally is, in theory, and then, of course, she sort of gets some toward the end. But, so I get why that one probably would end up being more similar anyway.
Yeah.
But I like that they gave them sort of their own personalities and their own sound. Because, they're not the same.
It was really cool seeing them recast in the movie. It was always exciting.
I remember reading people, like, complaining about that. Like, Sentai couldn't get new actors for this. It's like, they're making a point, people. The Japanese cast was the exact same way. It's supposed to be sort of like a connection, reincarnation kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, you don't think that was on purpose? You think they were just lazy?
Yeah.
Like, get out of here with that.
As far as the comedic timing of all of this cast, they're all great. I mean, the script writing is so good. I was watching the first couple episodes again just a couple days ago. And it's so quick. The dialogue is so quick. Oh, yeah. It is and the humor is so good. It's just like...
Like, one of my notes was about the pacing. It is a well-paced, quick-wit sort of show. And that aids a lot to it. Did you have a favorite, like, comedic moment? Because I totally did. At least in this watch-through.
You should go for it. I mean, really, the moment that Shiro and Sora are separated by mere feet is really good. And just that change from Steph. They're all so good.
So my favorite it was the very last episode, actually. And it's where they're doing the coin toss, and it lands, straight up.
Yeah.
And Inu Hatsue says, "You've got to be shitting me." And it's just kind of low in the background, and I just lost it this time. It was just that, like, speaking of perfect timing, because you've had all these events that are so improbable that, of course, like, they can't possibly come true. And again, just another one.
It's actually in the first episode when Sora is is listing all of these things and all of this blah 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 blah, and Sora says, "You could have just asked for everything," and he's like, "Say what now?" And it just like stops on a dime, and it's so funny.
Yeah, this is also one that if you've seen a lot of other anime, there are plenty of references to, you have fun with. There's a classic JoJo reference, there's a good Evangelion reference. Yeah. So this rewards anime watchers as well.
Yeah. Which of course I didn't get the first time, but I did the second. You want to talk about Izuna.
Sure.
You always do.
She's adorable.
I know.
Yeah, Izuna, who's voiced by Kira Vincent Davis, is who they go up, and there's a couple of things that make her great. Of course, part of it is her speech pattern. She's incredibly rude, but she puts please and thank you in front of everything.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm going to kill you, please.
Or, commence the petting, assholes, please. And, yeah, I love that. This was a perfect role for Kira, I think. Mm-hmm. And she definitely has one of my favorite moments of the show, which is the ending of episode 11. Yeah. Where she has the line, "This is fun, thank you." Yeah. And it's starting, like, she hits her, we call it the blood destruction ability. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you think the two have got it in the bag, like, this is finally the finale. And no, it's not. Yep. And that was an awesome episode finale. Like, that's how you leave someone want to, like, oh my god, I have to see the next one now. Yeah, I love that moment. She's really fun. She sticks around with them in the light novels. She's a big part. But yeah, I actually do a lot with, in general, I do a lot with language and sort of speech patterns in this show, and I really like that. Mm-hmm. Going back to Jibril, this really isn't like, she has her funny moments where she's like thinking she's speaking some avant-garde way of speech, but she's just mixing languages and slang and things like that, and it sounds ridiculous. But I really like how Amelia Fisher, her voice actress, she has, like, I've talked about people's, like, inflection and their, like, gravitas or whatever, but, like, what stood out for me for her was her, like, her cadence.
You're saying I'm inferior to humanity? Please, do understand that my feelings towards you are best described as curiosity, not respect. So don't get too comfortable, little ant. I could easily squish you anytime I like.
Mm-hmm. She has a rhythm to her speech that makes it, like, one part almost sing-songy, but other part that's almost what brings that confidence. Mm-hmm. And I love, like, all the pitch changes and the speed changes and the beats and the pauses and things like that are just really well done. I don't know if that was the director coming up with that or that was just her sort of, like, taking the character herself, but that added to me so much to Jibril. Mm-hmm. Like, that, like, I love listening to Jibril talk just because of that.
Yeah, I agree. Well, you had the benefit of reading that light novel. For me, it was the ultimate disappointment when this show just ends.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, because it sets up a whole nother series.
Yeah, and it's still one of those things that, like, people are so unsure of what happened because it sold, the light novel sold, the merchandise sold. Mm-hmm. It seems like one of those that was just an obvious, and I mean, it's still technically possible. We had the movie. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
You've got series that have been dead longer that are getting new seasons, so still possible. Come on, Committee and Madhouse.
Yeah.
We beg you. I think there's enough light novel material now, I think, to easily do another 12-episode season.
That'd be awesome.
Okay, so another sort of, and I guess I could have talked about this while you were talking about Isekai. Oh well. There's another sort of generic anime trope that comes in here that I think this show, again, does better than your average show that has this, is the OP protagonist. In this case, you have two, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of that, in general. I know a lot of people do like that, and
I don't know why.
I guess cool.
Why? Why do you want a Thanos every single show you watch? Like, it's so boring. I actually just, this is totally not anime related, but I made this complaint to my sister after we saw Infinity War. It's just so old. I'm so sick of the OP villain or OP protagonist who's like, okay, well, what's the point? I know you're gonna win. Like, yay, go you.
I'd rather have an OP villain that someone sort of finds a way to overcome than the protagonist being the powerful one, because that's more boring to me.
I guess. I don't know.
Because at least there's a struggle.
Yeah, but then you know that, well, they're gonna get defeated, so what's the point? I don't know. I'm ready for, like, the heroes to die and stuff. But...
I mean, yeah, I'm all for that too. But I like this one better because, I don't know, for whatever reason, like,
because they're smart.
That's part of it, but I know deep down that they're gonna win. But it always feels like maybe they're not.
Yeah.
At least when I first watched it. And I figure at some point in the light novels or the show later, they will lose and it'll be a big moment.
Yeah.
And I never know when that is going to be. And I just love seeing them turn the tables in just a genius, maybe slightly unbelievable, but still genius way.
Maybe cheating if they're not getting caught.
Well, you know what? It's allowed if you don't get caught here. So, I don't care.
And I think the big part of that is that they help each other. Like, one of them might be totally screwed, but the other one will step up and be OP.
Yeah, and I like that they take risks. That if something were to go wrong, they would be completely screwed. And yeah, I do like that there's sort of, two halves, that one is good at one thing and the other is good at something else. But I don't know, for whatever reason, these two are just so much more compelling than your average overpowered protagonist that, like, just wins because they get to, I guess.
I think, you know what part of it for me might be is they're also confident about themselves. You have somebody like Kirito who I don't think he's very confident in himself, or he doesn't think that way. So he makes these moves like in, ordinal scale, and he goes all nuts after 2 weeks of training or whatnot. But Sora and Shiro they know their abilities, they know they're good, and they know how to work the system. So it's a smart way to overpower, I guess.
Yeah, that does help that it's brains, not brawn.
Yeah.
And it's different kinds of brains. Like, you've got Shiro, who's the classic analytical, and you've got Sora, who's the more socially smart, the strategist.
The strategist, yeah.
The strategist. So yeah, that does make it more interesting. But that's a trope that I usually just do not like, and I really like it here. I'm not tired of them winning all the time.
Yeah, and they're so charming when they do.
Yeah, they don't gloat, and they don't, and obviously when they're fighting like nations and things, they want to make the best outcome for everybody. They're not actually trying to be evil dictators or anything.
And that you can see as a nod back to the movie, or the movie to that is, especially towards the later half of the film, it's the fewest casualties possible.
That's actually another thing. I love all the parallels between the show and the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's the super obvious ones where,
these cast
and the characters look very similar. One is, in fact, descendant of the other one. The other two are like, are they reincarnations? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, is this why they were summoned? Does Tet remember these two? Like, who knows?
Or reminds them of them, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really get explained, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Someone trying to hoist up humanity out of the trash bin, basically.
Yeah.
Both times, one of which is much worse, of course, but still dangerous. Like, you've got in the show, you get the sense that Elgia is probably going to, like, everyone's going to starve to death because all their lands are going to be seized and they won't be able to, sustain their population. That's not good. Bad stuff can still happen in this world, even if people can't kill each other. But yeah, and obviously we get some of the same characters. We get Jabril, who's basically eternal, so she's not aging.
I like that Jabril doesn't show up in the film until about 3/4 of the way.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much, you kind of know that she's coming if you know the cast.
Yeah.
So you know she's coming, but it's when she appears, you're like, oh, there she is. What's she gonna do? And then completely just dominates talk about a show stealer, scene stealer. I think because we know her and we're kind of expecting the show Jabril, and you get someone totally different.
Well, again, I like that in the show, especially if you watch the movie and then go back to the show, you see those, you see those glimpses of like, oh, this is old Jabril coming back.
Yeah.
But in the movie, you get glimpses of the show Jabril. Like, she starts drooling over Shuvi because she's some special anomaly. that she's gonna make some great prize.
Yep.
So Jibril has not changed as much as we might think.
Yeah. You just don't quite see the destructive side.
And just seeing the heavens smite or heavens strike.
Oof.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so good.
That's the thing, the scale of destruction in this movie, the way they've animated it, like, definitely gives you a sense like, oh man, this is
Definitely
really bad news.
It feels apocalyptic, is what it feels like.
Yeah, definitely.
And not just...
And then you've got, who we have to assume is Feel's ancestor, which is the pretty much the one elf you see in the whole show.
Yeah.
But they're both near villains, if people have missed that. Some people do. They are related to each other. Feel gets some cool stuff in the light novel, too. That's actually, yep. Yeah, she's a lot more in, I forget which book it is, but yeah, in their plans to try to conquer Elf, or the Elven Guard, she is, integral, and she's more awesome than you think. Let's say that. And that was actually kind of a cool moment in the book.
That is my major ship of this show.
Is Kurumi and Feel.
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's, again, one of those things where they hint at it very heavily, but there's nothing ever explicit.
I feel like...
Get it? Feel?
This I'm not 100% sure of, but I feel like the book, it's a little bit more explicit.
I mean, it just
I'm not 100%
sense.
sure, but...
They're just so cute, and they rely on each other. I think it... I mean, I always cling to... I really should read those novels.
They touch about it a little bit. What was your favorite game?
Oh, God. Chess. It's like Wizards.
Because I love... They play that a lot.
I love how... Sorry, the live chess.
Yeah.
That whole episode and a half revolving the chess game is just... It's very well done. Again, with the quick humor and the quick speed of the dialogue. It's just so good.
Nice.
How about yours?
Mine is Materialization Word Chain.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh,
like, that's some of my favorite stuff in the whole show.
I think I didn't like that because I just could not follow it.
Yeah, and I will say, like, and
There's a lot of dialogue.
I don't know that Sentai could have done this better, but some of the translations are weird.
Yeah.
But I think I like the science of it. That, like, he thought...
Yeah.
He sought to presume that Jibril wouldn't understand atoms and things like that. That he could dismantle the planet piece by piece, again, without her knowing what he was doing, because they don't have this sort of advanced geology here. And so the whole thing was sort of won by the fact that he knew more science than she did.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought that was so cool. That just...
Especially for how cocky she is about her knowledge.
And the whole, like, just to start with atom bomb.
Yeah, and then seeing Steph get chased around.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole time. It was just so fast that I couldn't keep up. Even now. Like, it's so hard to watch that episode.
Though, I did notice, one just complete screw up with the dub writing. I don't know if this is in the sub, but he talks about toward the end where he gets rid of what they call Coulomb's force, which is the electromagnetic force. He talks about basically the implosion and super high temperatures and the line is in the show is only happens in the collapse of super large planets. But it should be stars. Not planets. Whoops. There's no planet even close to large enough to do that. It was like, aw, come on.
I didn't even notice that.
Yep,
so.
I did. It's like, not planets, but oh well.
Close enough.
Yeah, the rest of it's pretty much on point, at least enough for a cartoon. Whoever did the translation isn't up on their science either, apparently, just like Jibril. But no, I
thought you would like the Cops and Robbers for a minute with, Izuna.
That one's good. But, I don't know, the Materialization Word Chain is still my favorite.
Yeah, it's just so smart.
What do you think about, this is about the movie, of them sort of shoehorning chess in there?
It was pretty out of place.
Like, I didn't feel that way when I first saw the movie, and then this time I'm like, wait, what? You're gonna play a game? Like, there's no pledges rules here. They don't have to play you for Jack.
I think they were just trying to introduce Tet, because he's the first one who you, not really see, but...
Yeah, I can see the chess at the beginning with Riku and Tet. Okay, whatever. And even Shuvi, because chess is kind of those, like, mechanical game. But then, like, oh, I'm gonna play this elf for chess. Like, why? She could just murder you. Compel you to tell the truth with her magic? I feel like she probably should have been able to do that.
Honestly, another thing that felt shoehorned about the movie was the marriage. Like, do you have to propose and that, like,
It felt more rushed through, I will say. I can't say I can't imagine a way they could do it where it would sort of work. But yeah, it didn't land as much this time around. I felt like it worked better in my first viewing, maybe because I wasn't,
expecting it.
Yeah, and I'm not like...
I don't like oh, well, we have to get these two together because that's what we're expecting. It felt like that to me.
Yeah. One thing I didn't actually notice that I thought was kind of touching was when Shuvi is about to be destroyed. I didn't notice this the first time. And she's about to be hit by the Heaven's Strike. Is she uses a shield on the ring, and only the ring.
Oh.
And that's why it's not destroyed, which I didn't even think about. Like, yeah, I was like, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
But yeah, she says, Lossen, some word that I assume means sort of shield or barrier, and you see a little circle just around her hand, and that's it. So you have to assume, like, that's all the energy she has left.
Which is interesting, because I think at first glance you think, oh, that's all the energy she has, and that's the only part of the shield she could get up before she gets destroyed. But yeah, I like that. Oh. Yeah, I was like, oh, that was like, oh man. Oh. Yeah, and that completely went by me the first time. Right. I didn't even notice. I was like, oh, wait. Damn you, Jabril. Yeah. God, but she's so good. I know. She is one of those, especially, well, in the movie. I loved her in the show. In the movie, you almost don't want to like her. I know, it's an interesting feeling because, yeah, I feel like it's hard not to like her in the show. Yeah. But now she's sort of the bad guy, or one of the bad guys. And you're rooting for Shuvi, of course. I mean, but it's like Rogue One. You know that Shuvi's not going to survive because she's not there. So it's like a weird loyalty change where you're like, I know Jabril's going to win, and I like her, theoretically. Yeah, that's actually one thing I don't think the book has talked about this, but I don't know what happened to the Ex Machina. We haven't seen any of them. That's true. Though, I mean, there's quite a few species or races we haven't seen either, so I guess that's not a big deal. It's like, wait, whatever happened to those guys? Yeah, because they're up in the top... Aren't they in the top 5? No, they're not. They're actually lower than you'd think. I don't remember what position they are, but because they're mechanical, I forgot their whole... They have a big backstory, of course. And of course I don't remember it. Right. But it is interesting. Oh, well, let's see. We haven't really touched on any of the specifics, acting-wise, between our two leads. Well, for me, Caitlin French is Shiro. Like, that's just who I hear whenever I hear Caitlin. Oh, of course. I remember when they first announced this. I don't remember what I had heard Caitlin in before this, but my first thought was, like, this has to be Caitlin French. Like, of all the Sentai actors, this is obviously going to be her, right? And then, as is with Sentai's former self, it took quite a long time to hear about anything. And then, oh my god, she was cast, and I've watched interviews that, like, this was, like, a big thing for her, like, a super emotional moment. She was really, really wanting this part, and she got it. As a whole, this cast is just very well meshed. The only one I will say did not land for me. So yeah, Suzelle Palacios, or however you say it, I'm probably wrong. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know. Like, her lines, especially this time through, like, they were fine, I guess, but she didn't have what I think probably should have been the gravitas of this person. This person who can call an old deuce as well. Leader of an entire people. You know who I think should have been that role? Do tell. Is Shelley. Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's who true. Should have been that. Yep. There's a few other people I could see making that one work. Like Emily Neves would have been great as well. But, like, yeah, I don't know. Again, she's just in basically one episode. But, yeah, I wanted more to her, I guess. Yeah. I know, she felt like she should have some authority, and she just didn't really, to me. But, that said, everybody else, big thumbs up. Great cast. Would watch again. Will watch again. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Definitely. Will watch again. Ow. Nice. Yeah. I actually have this rated as a 9 out of 10. Oh, that's a good... Well, keeping in tradition with us. I have an 8. Yep, I'm an 8. Yep. This just did, I feel like, everything it sought out to do so well. Like, yeah, it's not the deepest story. It's not making me think about great life ideals or anything like that. But you know what? As really entertaining shows that make me laugh and make me want to watch more of them. Yeah. Not a lot actually beat this one, so. It's just a good overall show. Yeah. It really is. That's it. If you're looking for a good show, something easy-ish to watch, do this one. And
buy all the things so they make more seasons.
Yes!
God.
We want a second season!
I don't know what else we have to do, but
yes.
I will keep trying.
Please.
Because I really this is always at top of the list of if I could have any second seasons.
It's true.